Familia, I appreciate you being here with me still. You could say that we've reached the end of, well, never mind the title. Cause this is life and it's still being written. And if you think about it, there is no end, just chapters and intersections. I'm at the intersection, somewhere between earth and heaven, birth and death and resurrection. Looking back on the map of my life, reflecting and rapping my introspection. The curses and stress and learning of lessons, losing direction. The pain and depression's what made me mix music and message. And it took so much between earth and heaven.
Hey guys, Gina Butson, Real Estate. Welcome to the show. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully well. I just wanted to start off this podcast and say thanks for tuning in. And please, please don't stop sharing ideas with me. Don't stop giving me feedback on maybe some things I need to work on. One of my cousins called me and she was like, Gina, I was listening to the show and I kept waiting for your personal story, because that's how she talks. Waiting for your personal story, but it never came. Wah, wah. Wait, which leads me to something before I forget. I bought this, I guess it's like a voice recorder and bleh, whatever, but it has these sounds. It's freaking awesome. What? Oh, wait. Ha! Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Happy to be here. So anyway, of course, I've been messing with that all morning. I love it. I can't wait to use it, except I don't know if I'll ever remember what's on it. There's like A, B, C, D. I'm going to play the music when I want claps and whatever. Anyway, I'll figure that out later. So getting back on track. I loved just be all over the place. Sorry, guys. So this is episode 4. And I was throwing around the idea because when my cousin called and actually mentioned about, she was waiting for a personal story and there wasn't one, maybe that's something I probably should incorporate. I think it's actually a really good idea that, mix a little business, mix a little pleasure, like, gosh, work hard, play hard. I think some episodes could be more on the personal side, and then some episodes, guidelines and things that you can do to better position yourself and to get a loan or get approved. So I think probably what I'm going to start doing is kind of mixing it up a little bit and kind of sharing more personal stories so you guys can connect with me a little bit better. So with that said, and my mom called and said, don't cross my arms because then, I don't talk with my hands and then I'm not as animated. So, okay, Mom, I'm really going to work on that. Just kidding. So, episode 4, I want to share with you guys my logo and how I chose my logo and why I chose my logo and the story kind of behind it, because I think some of you know some of my story. Some of you know, I know in the first 2 episodes, I really took it back. And then I kind of stopped and didn't circle back to explain, the transition from I ended it at Landhome and the beautiful relationships that I made there. But what about when I left Landhome to actually becoming an agent and a licensed realtor? What the heck? Whose idea was that? How did that come about? So I actually wanted to share that with you guys because I think it's very, very important. And it's also going to be really hard for me to talk about because it is very personal to me and kind of what I went through just last year. Actually, it's almost to the day. This was going on last year. So I'm going to take this episode to a much deeper level and open up to you guys and be completely transparent and honest with you guys. So, Sheila, go get the popcorn ready, hit pause, go make it, because it's about to go down. Just kidding. So seriously, just kind of starting from how I came up with this logo was that I love the whole idea behind the Phoenix and what the Phoenix represents and what the Phoenix means. And for me, it's very important because, there's been huge loss and huge transition and huge acceptance throughout my life that a lot of times I found myself on the ground. And in order for me to pick myself up, I literally had to burn to nothing and rise from my ashes and kind of be born again. And in some instances, it wasn't as hard, or it wasn't as difficult, or what had happened, wasn't so tragic. But at the same time, we've all taken that L. We've all lost at some point in our lives. And I remember last year, I had 2 partners at the time, and I'm going to get into that. But I was talking to one of them and I said, this is why how do I even start this? How we rise from a fall is what defines us. It's not that you got knocked down by something. It's not that you took a chance and maybe you didn't succeed the first time. There was some failure, but there was still experience learned, and there was still a lesson learned, and in some horrific way, like what was so awful taught you something. And so it's always been really important to me, the rise from a fall, for anyone to possibly be inspired by me or something I went through. And, look at Gina. She shared, in the first 2 episodes. First of all, Gina has a podcast. Okay, madness. Gina now stepped it up and started recording and uploads every Friday. The last episode I kind of kicked out early because I got ahead of myself. So I'm going to roll this one out. I'm like a week ahead, but whatever. I'm sure you guys don't mind. And so, I really want to give you guys a piece of me that I don't normally share. And it was one of the most critical times in my career that defined me. And when I burnt to nothing, how I rose from that situation and what I did to overcome it, and share my experience with you guys. So I'll just take you guys back to last year. So at the end of my kind of land home, everyone saw me go from a loan officer and then I was an agent. But actually what happened between that period was I had decided I was going to be part of a project, and me and my 2 partners at the time were going to start our own mortgage company. And thinking back to how exciting that was, and I was going to be part of something so big. And, me and the one partners, he actually was my best friend at the time. And, we spent a lot of time together and we grew together. And during COVID, we really just learned so much about each other and how we worked and work ethic. And I trusted him, and or else I wouldn't have started something so big. Like, are you joking? A mortgage company? Like, the compliance alone, the thought of them walking in and ripping my license off the wall, like, oh God, I dreaded it every day. But it was real. We all hear stories about how the compliance and you have to have locks and it's like ridiculous. I get it. But anyone who's experienced when they walk through, like when Fannie or Freddie, they do their little checkup and they send someone and everyone's like freaking out, locking their computers, controlled, like, oh, lock, like getting up to go to the printer and you're like, no, go back, lock, it's real. Like, if you haven't experienced that, oh my God. Like when your boss starts to walk up and you're like, oh my God, look busy. It's like that. It's that anxiety, anxious, And so that was something that was like so on top of my mind, only because I was in the industry. Out of the three of us, I was the only one that was a licensed loan officer. I was the only one that ever originated a loan. I was the only one that had a pipeline. I was the only one like that knew guidelines, that could structure a deal. Like, that was all me. So when we first started meeting and kind of it started to become real, because we would talk about it at night after, because we all had our day jobs. But at the same time, we all knew that we were bigger than what each of us were doing in our day job piece, And so we always held our meetings at night after hours and kind of brainstorm and knock things out and how are we going to do this? And, so it was the three of us, and we knew what we wanted to do, but we kind of didn't know how to start it. So that's when we had to bring in a fourth partner. And so during this time, COVID had hit. I was the busiest I've ever been in my life. And I remember calling Joe and saying, Joe, what do I need to do to get my own team? And Joe was like, okay, well, me personally, has to make enough and originate enough loans so that I can actually carry a team on my back, because it's my commission. I have to make enough and everyone takes a piece of my pie. That's how everyone's like compensated. So it makes sense, right? So I was like, okay, I can do 5 or 6 a month for a few months and start growing my team and get my own branch. And yeah, let's do this. So after a few months, I started doing my loans consecutively. I was able to hire a team member and, moving right along. So once that happened, and I no longer, like 5 or 6 was cake, right? I like opened the floodgates and I was like, I have help now. Shoot, I started marketing. I started trying to get, more transactions. The rates were so low. I was doing to like 8 or 10 scenarios alone a day. And some of you guys listening, I'm sure I ran your numbers. Hey, Gina, can you see how much you could lower my rate and what would my payment go to? And, when you're starting to run a scenario, you could tell who was going to turn into something or who wasn't. And I was not a loan officer that if it didn't make sense and if you weren't going to save a substantial amount, you bought your house 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and you were only going to save like $75 or $85 a month, like something very low. Maybe it's not worth refinancing, starting the 30-year clock over, and you're not really saving that much. So that was something I instructed many of my clients, because what's the real benefit to them? Like, it has to benefit the client. I don't want to say I wasted money, but I wasn't getting paid. Commission only, we don't get paid until the loan closes. But the service, nobody would know that. Everyone probably thought, dang, Gina helped me for 2 years. And then I went to someone else. Well, it's cool. She probably got paid, blah, blah, blah. No, I didn't. But did I hold that against anyone? Absolutely not. If you're working with an agent, they normally have a preferred lender. So I get it. You went with someone and you didn't come back to me, even though I helped you all that time for free. I'm just kidding. No, I'm totally kidding. I'd help you again, and I'd give you the right advice again. And it's just who I am. It's what I do. It was never about the money. It's never been about the money for me. And so when I started building my team out, man, I felt like I was a guy in Clash of the Titans floating in the water, and he's like, releasing the Kraken, opening it, and, release the Kraken, destroy all Jabba. Like, that's what I feel like Joe lifted the gate. And I mean, I was just originating purchases, refinances, and running all these scenarios, and boom, 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 boom. It was just moving and moving and moving. And like, looking back to that time, like, I was killing it. And it was fun, but it was crazy. And, so there I was cranking these out, and I looked up, and all of a sudden, I found myself calling Joe saying, hey, 3-day no-show, job abandonment, go ahead and start the paperwork with HR, blah, blah, blah. So, this is really hard for me to talk about, because this was by far the hardest time in my career. And looking back, and I remember when I realized my help wasn't coming back, looking at my pipeline and kind of looking at all my emails, and I knew I was in trouble. And I remember calling Kelly, and I said, baby, it's bad. It's really bad, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, okay, well, what are we going to do? And I said, well, you're probably not going to see me much. And it's just if I come home and I'm not in a good mood, please just know I love you, and I'm just doing the best that I can. And she was like, okay. And I think even Kelly didn't know how bad it was for me in that I had, I would say, 13 to 15 loans that I wasn't sure how far they had been processed. And so I had to cancel. I canceled all of them and started over on each and every one of those files. And when I did that, I remember I was working 7 days a week. I'd get to work before the sun. I'd go home. It would be like 11 o'clock at night. Kelly barely saw me during that time. And it's what I had to do. It's what I had to do to survive. It's what I had to do to save my name. It's what I had to do. In our industry, all we have is our name. And And when you don't perform or, what is it? Over promise, underperform or whatever. And I'm all about setting realistic expectations. And, it's always been so important to me that my client, they need to feel like they're the only client. My client doesn't need to know that I'm drowning. They would never know that. Only because, okay, I have to run on all cylinders. I gotta basically do the fool and just get this done. And so during that time, like looking back, because this all started last year, almost to the day of when my world started unraveling. And so trying to save face and save my name, and I did what I had to do as far as inputting, processing, getting it done. And I would see one closed, one closed, one closed, one closed. Now, keep in mind, it wasn't 5 or 6 anymore. It was like 9 and 10. And then my very last month was my best month. And I know I throw numbers around because I'm not really sure. I know it's over 15. But because the last month I wasn't at Land Home, but my loans were still closing out, like Debbie was making sure everyone was taken care of. And so at the end of my Land Home career, what I had planned, or what in my mind was supposed to happen, was I was going to thin out my pipeline and then start my own mortgage company, and with my partners, and then bring my clients to the new company. And it was seamless. We talked about it so much. I knew we could do it. And I really, really believed in this dream. And it was no longer a dream. Like, it was happening. We had our warehouse lines, our name, we were waiting for our EIN number. Like, this was happening. I had went and got my real estate license, because in order to start your own mortgage company, someone has to have 2 licenses. So I did that. This is like, of course, I'm going to go off track. Watch me. So when I first got my real estate license, I called a few people first. Kelly, my brother. I tried to call my mom, but she didn't answer. Shocker. And I called Wolf, the broker who I currently work for right now at Bruce Kroski Real Estate. I called him and I said, "Hey, Wolf, it's Gina." And he's like, "Hey, Gina, how's it going?" And I was like, "Really good. Guess what I did today?" And he's like, what? And I was like, "I just passed my real estate exam. I'm licensed now." And looking back, like, to think that I reached out to him, I don't know if I was planting a seed subconsciously. No, I think I always knew. I always liked Wolf. And I knew I wanted to work with him in some capacity. So whether I was going to be his preferred lender still, because I was at the time with Land Home, I wanted to continue my relationship with him. And so I called him, told him, and I was like, "Hey, I'm licensed now. Do you want me? Can I hang my license in at your shop?" Like, I don't know. But I just knew I wanted to work with him. I've always loved Wolf. I respect him. I look up to him. He's so intelligent and so laid back. He's truly, what is it, my yin to yang or whatever. Like, he's just a great guy. And if I was to learn anything, I wanted it to be from him, because I knew he would be honest with me. I knew he'd tell the truth, and I knew he would always do what was in the best interest of his clients, regardless of how it would have benefited him. he would do the right thing. And that's what I love the most. And so going back to when we were starting our company and I got my licenses. So now I'm at a crossroad because I was working sunrise to sundown, way into the night, and just saving my name. It's all I had. And I remember looking back and I started to get scared. And I started to question, was I doing the right thing? Was I risking it all again? And all those long nights of trying to clean up the million pieces that had blown up in my office by myself, man, I knew I had to do it. I knew I wasn't going to let anyone take the last 2 years away from me and everything that I had built in all the blood, sweat, and tears. I was not going to let someone take that from me. And I was not going to let someone ruin my name that I worked so hard to make for myself. And so I ended up getting all the loans done, moving into the direction of now I faced a very difficult decision, because do I continue to pursue a dream that I believed in, opening this mortgage company with these partners that I trusted, I loved. He was my best friend. And I knew I couldn't do it. I knew I couldn't do it because this company was going to be built on my back and with my name. And when I got ghosted at Land Home, the same person was going to be at this company. And there's no way I could ever trust that person again with anything of mine. My clients, my name, my heart. And so that's when I decided I wasn't going to do it. And I remember walking into the office with the guys and I said, you know what, you guys, I'm out. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. And it got kind of heated. I mean, duh, why wouldn't it? 'Cause shit, I'm not saying I was the brain. I'm of the company, but I was the worker bee. I was the pipeline. I was the knowledge. I had the piece, that they needed. And so I knew my time was coming to an end, for the, to originate. And I knew my time, I didn't want to originate anymore. And being burned so bad, how could I allow someone to then have the opportunity to possibly burn me again? I had never worked so hard in my life. It was like my first, it truly was my first heartbreak in my real estate career, because I had never felt such like, I've never been thrown, talk about a dumpster fire. Like I've never just been so dogged out. I don't even know how to say it without just saying it. Like, how could someone walk away knowing what I had on my desk, what that was going to do to me? It should have ruined me. But that's why when I decided on a logo, it was key that I chose the Phoenix. It was key that what I wanted to represent, what I live by, what defines me is truly how I rise from a fall. Because damn it, I burnt to nothing. Nothing. And I rose from the ashes. And I was reborn again. And I'm a better person because of it. I'm a better agent because of it. I'm just a better everything. I really went through the ringer, and it's crazy because anyone that I worked with last year had no idea, and I would say I was so busy, but an agent, a realtor, if a loan officer says we're busy in month end, they can't even wrap their head around what that means. And I am in no way disrespecting anyone, but when you know your job, you stay in your lane and you know your job, but as a loan officer, an agent really doesn't know what we go through just as much as a loan officer doesn't know what an agent goes through. And I'm learning this roller coaster. It's the same roller coaster. It's just you're sitting in a different seat. I feel like the loan officers are in the front of the train and we're kind of in the back more. So they see stuff first that we can't see. And by the time the dip comes and we're going up again, the loan officer has saved the deal, got a DU accept again, and now is coming up. And we're in the back, raising our hands, and we don't even know the loan just died. Yeah, so it's so crazy that we really, truly don't know what each other does. And now that I can look back, and this is actually one of the very first times that I was able to talk about this and not just cry. That dream of opening a mortgage company, that was my first love. And so looking back, anyone who's had their heart broken knows, like, oh gosh, I know, poor Kelly. I'm so dramatic, but like, I cried for 3 months. How could this happen? How? And I love them. And it was like the scene in Ghost when Patrick Swayze runs out in the street and he's like, "You are my friend." Like that. Oh my God. That was me. Like, here's your 30 pieces of silver. Thanks. Jeez, kiss me on the cheek. And, but gosh, guys, I really just wanted to share that with you because so many times, and Kelly knows this is my hot button, someone will say, "Oh, Gina, we knew you'd be good. Oh, Gina, it was so easy for you. And it was so easy. You were doing loans and oh my gosh, you were so successful and blah, blah, blah." But looking back, because I didn't look up, like, oh my God, Gina, look up. But I was so focused on taking care of my clients and making sure things ran smoothly. Like, that's just how I work. So even towards the end, none of my clients knew. Nobody was delayed. Everything was business as usual as far as anyone was concerned. Nobody knew that I was running on fumes, that I was ready to just give up. It was like 3 to 4 weeks of absolute hell. But here I am with my own podcast. Here I am with a YouTube channel. Here I am. I think I'm like ranked in the top 50 of real estate agents in East County. There's like 4,000 of us. Are you joking? Like top 50? Who do you think you are, Gina Butson? But, in my first year, I've never measured my success by how many transactions I did or how much money I made. Like, my success is I still have to introduce myself when I walk in a room. So that is like my level of how I measure me is, I still have to introduce myself. So I'm not there yet. Getting there, but no. I just want to thank you guys, for tuning in and really just listening to what I went through and understanding that this wasn't easy for me, and this has never been easy for me. And anyone who chooses to go commission only, it takes courage and guts. And Debbie used to always say, Gina, if it was easy, everybody would do it. And gosh, it's true. If you've ever dreamed of starting something on your own and you don't, or you didn't, or there's some type of fear, you should reach out to me. This isn't the only struggle I've had. This isn't the only fall that I faced. This is the one that bruised me the most and hurt the most. But here I am, dusting myself off again, making things happen. Gosh, guys, you gotta get up. If you find yourself on the ground, just get up. Get up. And that's kind of just my advice on this is not easy. This has never been easy for me. It is a daily struggle, but it is what we have to do to be great. It is what you have to do to make a name of yourself. It's what you have to do. If you get the opportunity to start something, start it. Why not? What if it becomes bigger than you ever dreamed? What if? What if I get 1,000 listeners? What if I get 1,000 views? Like, I know that sounds so minimal because I should be shooting for 100,000. I want 100,000 viewers. Like, come on, guys. But I think because I've always like kind of just kept my head down and plugged along, there I go, I think setting unrealistic goals was never my thing. And I do want to end this podcast with a little, it's a book that I read and it's called 10 Times. And I absolutely love this book. And, the author, I'll have to put a little screenshot of the book in his name, but it's true. I grew up in a small town in San Pablo, and, I wasn't supposed to have nothing. I was supposed to be a W-2, worker, and I was never supposed to be this. I never dreamed I could be this, but I took a chance on me. I'm not special. I don't have this magic potion that I found or rubbed the lamp, I don't have that, but gosh, guys, every day, hustle. Don't give up, keep pushing, and damn it, get the hell up. I love you guys. I love you guys for tuning in. This is Gina Butson, really signing off, saying thanks for tuning in. and get the hell up. All right, you guys. Love you. Bye.
Look, Mom, I did it!
Gina. I like Gina.
You like Gina?
Yeah. Gina, name Gina. I want Gina bird.
Familia, I appreciate you being here with me still. You could say that we've reached the end of, well, never mind the title. Cause this is life and it's still being written. If you think about it, there is no end, just chapters and intersections. I'm at the intersection, somewhere between earth and heaven, birth and death and resurrection. Looking back on the map of my life, reflecting and rapping my introspection. The curses and stress and learning of lessons, losing direction. The pain and depression's what made me mix music and message. And it took so much to get here, but now the view is majestic. I guess these many graves then gave me perspective. I've seen it sometimes right behind the grief is hiding the blessings. And other times it is what it is and the globe still spins. We cry those tears that dried up.